Ag Matters is underwritten by Ag West Farm Credit. Ag West Farm Credit is a financial cooperative that provides financing, crop insurance, and related services to farmers and ranchers across the West. From small family businesses to large operations, Ag West brings the experience and financial know-how to help you grow your best future.
Welcome to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Ag Matters. I'm your host, Ken Hoffman. I'm out here in Palmer, and I'm the executive director of the Alaska Farm Bureau, which is a great organization for networking and advocacy for agriculture and for farmers statewide. So today, we've got Drew and Crystal calling in on the line. So hi, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do. So start with Drew. How did you end up in Alaska, and what is your business, or what's your affiliation?
So my name is Drew Weber, and I'm the head brewer of Glacier Brew House. I'm also the treasurer for the Brewers Guild of Alaska and the chair of the events committee. I'm a longtime Palmer resident. I've been out there for about 20 years and love the area. I first came to Alaska actually on a fishing trip in September 2001. And when September 11th happened, I found myself stuck here and just fell in love and decided to stay.
That's great. Cool. All right, Crystal, how about you?
Hello. Again, my name is Crystal Crawford. I am the newly minted executive director for the Brewers Guild of Alaska. I found my way up here. I'm kind of the classic story. I bought a one-way ticket, came up for a summer, absolutely fell in love with the place, and decided to stay. That was back in 2007. And so creeping in on 20 years, time flies. And during that time, I've worked a lot of different jobs, mostly in the nonprofit sector, and eventually found my way here to the Brewers Guild.
That's great. So why don't you guys tell us more about the Brewers Guild?
For sure. So the Brewers Guild of Alaska is a nonprofit trade association. It's been Alaska longer than I have. It was founded in the year 2000 by craft brewers throughout the state. And it's really it's a gathering intended to promote Alaska's craft beverage industry. We do that through a lot of different ways, some of them through consumer education. We also do a lot of fun community events, as well as legislative advocacy.
That's great.
And something I also want to mention is that you hear the Brewers Guild and everyone goes to think about craft beer. And obviously that is a huge part of our membership. But the Brewers Guild actually represents breweries, wineries, which includes both meaderies and cideries, as well as distilleries all across Alaska.
That's awesome. How many members do you guys have?
We currently have just shy of 40 members throughout the state.
Okay, awesome. And then what's the makeup of those 40 members? Would you say most of them are craft brewers for like beer, or would you say maybe half beer, half distillery and winery?
The majority are brewers, but we do have a good representation of the wineries and distilleries as well. I would say, we have a really good spread of both large producing breweries all the way to the small mom and pop shops.
That's awesome. So what does your guys' calendar look like? Do you guys put on annual meetings or events? Are you guys primarily based in Palmer?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'd love to pull Drew into this. Drew's been with the Guild much longer than I have, and I can fill in any details about upcoming events. But Drew, do you want to chat a little bit about the ebb and flow of the Guild and our annual rotation of events?
Yeah. So, for the most part, the Brewers Guild, we do meet at least once a month and talk about different things that are going on. We do help out with and have our own few beer events throughout the state, about 3 or 4 of them a year. But any kind of beer event that might be out there, there's usually some representation of the Brewers Guild there. So count us in on pretty much everything on that. It's a wide state. And so right now our president's in Juneau. I'm here in Anchorage, and we have representatives that are up in Fairbanks on the board as well. So we stretch across the state. There's no central location. We try to represent everybody here.
That's awesome. So your members, do they all have to be like business owners, craft brewers, or do you also have like an associate membership for folks that just want to support the industry? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our membership is largely based off of local producers, but we do have affiliate memberships as well. And those affiliate memberships, those are intended for suppliers, wholesalers, and retailers who work with our members and are interested in supporting the work that the BGA is doing.
Okay, cool. So I want to ask, you said something that you guys do advocacy work on behalf of your members. I was watching one of our Matsu Borough meetings talking about some sort of alcohol tax. Now, of course, I'm not really plugged into all of that, but do you guys have any sort of opinion on that, or am I completely off the wall not talking about nonsense?
Yeah, it's not off the wall. So with that, we have a government affairs committee that meets regularly to discuss, legislative priorities and strategies. With that, I would love to pull one of our reps from that to chat more clearly about any stances in regard to the taxes. If it's, you said the one that you brought up was regionally specific to the Matsu, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, our borough.
Yeah. Drew, as a Palmer resident, do you have anything you'd like to share in regard to that?
As far as I'm concerned as a resident, I would rather not see that tax. The city's growing, the town's growing, the borough's growing, and I can understand where there's some need here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your guys' opinions. It's, your guys' organization sounds a lot like my organization that I work for, the Farm Bureau. We're basically almost a trade organization for farmers, representing farmers and doing membership events and advocacy. So that's pretty cool. I'm really glad to hear that there's something for the craft brewers as well. How many staff do you guys have? Is it just you, Crystal?
It is just me. And one thing I just wanted to tag into the advocacy aspect is, with the Government Affairs Committee, I wanted to note that Alaska has some of the most restrictive laws, if not the most restrictive laws in the United States when it comes to what craft beverage manufacturers can and cannot do specifically in their tap rooms. And so one of the big efforts with the Guild was working to enact positive change for our members throughout our industry. And so while I can't speak specifically to the Matsu taxes, I wanted to mention that, we're striving for positive change and allowing our members representation when it comes to the decision makers in Juneau.
That's great. I mean, cutting of red tape is a big deal for these organizations, and that's what a lot of our members want. They don't want handouts necessarily. They just want freedom from the regulations. So that's pretty cool. What are some big projects that your guys' organization is working on that you guys are looking forward to?
Well, immediately on my list is our third annual Loggers on the Lawn event. As I mentioned, I recently joined the Guild, and this is our first Brewers Guild of Alaska event since I've been the executive director. And this one, part of the reason we're so excited to join the call today is this one is being held in Palmer. It's this Sunday, July 12th at the Palmer Ale House. And what's special about this one is it's not your traditional pouring festival. This is actually intended to be a social event for our BGA members, but also anyone from the general public who wants to come join the fun. And for this particular one, we've added a new element to make this a bit more fun fundraiser, and that is the inaugural Brewer Olympics. And so that's something that we're tagging into this upcoming event and should be an entertaining time.
That's awesome. Tell me a lot more about this event. This is pretty cool. There's a lot of details packed in there.
For sure. So just to kind of clear up confusion, not to say confusion, but to clear it up. So Loggers on the Lawn is the event, and the Brewer Olympics is part of that event. Loggers on the Lawn is an annual gathering and fundraiser with proceeds benefiting the Brewers Guild and helping us with our mission to support our members throughout the state. And Loggers on the Lawn, we put a call out to our membership for participation in this event. And so we have more than 20 of our Guild members who will be bringing beer to this event. And it's all some really delicious brews from across the state. I'm pulling up my list now to give you some more details on that. But with that, as I mentioned, this isn't a pouring festival. Our members typically would be the ones pouring beers at these various festivals throughout the state, but they will not be on the taps this year. They will be out in the lawn enjoying opportunity to connect with others from their industry and other craft enthusiasts. Adding to that fun, as I mentioned, there's the Brewer Olympics. We're purposely keeping a bit hush-hush on what the games will be. But what I can share with you is that they are all brewery-inspired games. It's intended to be fun, friendly competition. There's no drinking games involved. These are games that bring, knowledge, skill, speed, and teamwork to the lawn of the Palmer Ale House. And it's really just added engagement for the attendees and some fun bragging rights for whoever takes home the gold.
That's awesome. I was going to ask if beer pong was going to be one of the events, but no drinking games. So cool. That's
no drinking games, yes.
It's awesome. So regarding the guild's work, what for your guys' members, does there seem to be a lot of like excitement for the industry here in Alaska? Is there a lot of growth, opportunity, or is there some challenges that you guys are trying to work through more so? What would you say?
I really think that there's a lot of opportunity in Alaska. We have seen some challenges with the craft beer generally in the United States has seen a little bit of shrinkage in its growth in how it's being sold throughout the states. But Alaska loves their beer. And Alaskans love, a good summertime event outside. Craft beer is going to be the key. And so I really think Alaska, with its growth in the Matsu and even somewhere other parts of the state, I could definitely see a lot of craft brews and craft breweries opening up around the state.
Okay.
I agree with Drew. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I've really noticed since I've joined in the guild is I've been really impressed with the camaraderie and the group approach to figuring out problems within the industry. I shouldn't say problems, challenges within the industry. I think every industry in Alaska comes with its own unique Alaska challenges. Obviously, shipping is a huge part of what everyone is facing as far as the costs involved, but also just logistics and things around, annual production. And so it's been really impressive to see how guild members share ideas and insight and, work together to find a solution that benefits all.
Mm-hmm. Now, is your organization part of something larger? So are you guys a chapter of, say, like the American Brewers Guild or anything like that? Or are you guys on your own?
Yeah, so there's a National Brewers Association, and there are chapters throughout the states. I believe every state has a chapter. Some are larger than others. Mm-hmm. But yes, there is a National Brewers Association that we're a part of.
Okay. What are some priorities of the National Association? Is there, let's say, is there a shrinkage in the customer base potentially and because of the Maha movement or things like that? Or does there still seem to be an upward tick for craft drinks? Do people still?
Yeah, that's a good question. The industry trends are evolving. What we're seeing is, we are coming from a time where people are really into the strong IPAs, and now it's easing into, a market that's more interested in lighter beers as well as offering non-alcoholic options. Drew, as the head brewer, what are some insights that you can share in regard to what you're seeing as far as the changing trends of consumers?
Yeah, we've seen over the years a lot of changes. You saw the growth of ciders and meaderies, and then the big one in the last couple of years has been the RTDs, the ready-to-drink, which has really helped a lot of the distilleries up here. I can tell you what I see in our restaurant is honestly, Alaskans drink weather dependent. We'll see the bigger, darker beers in the winter really take off, like our stouts or barley wines. But in the summer, when you have a hot sunny day, lighter beers, blondes or hefts, or even the fruitier beers like our raspberry wheat really grow. And that's kind of a fun thing to watch up here is how weather dependent we can be up here.
Yeah, for sure. Is there, I know there's a lot of craft breweries here in Alaska, but I haven't met very many distillers or distilleries. Anyone doing whiskey, bourbon, vodka, you name it. Are there quite a few throughout Alaska?
It's definitely a growing number. I know there's a few breweries that have kind of added that on. With the changes of the law, they were able to add on a distillery or a cidery. And so that's been a growing trend. I think there's 2 or 3 here in Anchorage, one in Talkeetna, there's a couple in Juneau. So it's definitely a growing trend.
Okay. Cool. So since this show is called Ag Matters and I'm with the Farm Bureau and we represent about 300 members across the state, I got to ask about the use of local products in your guys's beverages. So are there very many brewers that like to use local products or focus on local products? How do you see local barley or apples or honey in these different things that you guys are creating?
Yeah, I'll tell you, we actually work very closely with the agriculture of Alaska. On the front side, on the side of the flavors, and there's the barley that we can get and some wheat out of the Delta Junction area. I work closely with a guy out there in the Butte for some fruits. I know Double Shovel works locally with people for getting apples for their ciders. But the big thing is on the backside, the spent grain from all the breweries here in Alaska typically go out to the farms. Reindeer Farm used to pick up our spent grain to feed their reindeer. There's a couple of cattle farms out in the valley that use grain. And even we have one guy out there who uses the spent grain from the breweries to make compost that he uses to feed his cattle by using it on his wheat fields. So breweries work very closely with those guys, with the ag side of the state of Alaska. And I think it's a really good partnership.
That's great.
And also being tied into the gardening community in the area. I know that there's a lot of excitement on the local gardening channels as far as when breweries put out spent grains for for gardeners to come collect and use for personal use. I also wanted to mention, you asked about the National Association. So the National Brewers Association on the federal level, they're very involved with the Brews to Barns Act, which is on par with what we're talking about. And that would create a federal excise tax credit for brewers that donate their spent grains to agricultural businesses.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's probably something farmers would get behind too.
Absolutely.
So what sort of products do you see your members like really wanting to get a hold of that Alaskan farmers are just not maybe producing enough of? What are some opportunities for farmers to possibly look into growing for you guys?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. On the brewer side, I know grain is something we'd all love, but it's also a kind of a double-edged sword because of the growing season we have in Alaska. It doesn't quite give the grain the size and sugar content that we always need here. But with the changes in technology, and we're hoping that, before long, that will be something we can do up here. Changes in the world from the different wars and stuff have definitely changed the grain. Ukraine was the bread belt of Europe. And so what's going on over there? Prices on grain have gone up. And then shipping over the last few years, we definitely struggled with the cost of fuel. So there's the opportunity here for local products for sure.
That's great. Well, thanks guys for coming on the show. Just finishing off the episode, if Drew, if you could talk a little bit about Glacier Brewhouse, if I got that right.
Glacier Brewhouse, we're actually having our 30th anniversary this last May. It's been 30 years of brewing beer and having our restaurant here in downtown Anchorage. We've been very good, and we produce beer for across the state of Alaska. You can find our beer in pretty much every town in Alaska, as well as Washington and Oregon. We love, our motto is where Alaskans meet Alaskans. That's really what we do. We want to make beer for Alaskans, and come on in. Check us out. Come down to the brewery. We like talking about beer.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Thank you. And is there, does the Brewers Guild have a social media or a website that people can follow?
Absolutely. We're on all the channels. I'd say the easiest way to find us is to go to our website, which is brewersguildofalaska.org. And in that upper right-hand corner, you can link to all of our socials, Facebook page, events, and more.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You guys have any final words?
I would just say open invite to everybody. Come join us on the lawn this Sunday, July 12th at Palmer Ale House. It's going to be a good time, and can't wait to see who takes home the gold for the inaugural Brewer Olympics.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to add on to that. This is a family-friendly event. It's at the Palmer Ale House. It's outdoors, so you can bring the whole family down and just enjoy the camaraderie of all the different breweries in Alaska.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys there on the lawn.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken.
All right, and thank you, everybody, for listening to Ag Matters. Have a good one.
You've been listening to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio. Ag Matters is a production of Radio Free Palmer, recorded at our studios in Palmer, Alaska. For more information about this program, email manager@radiofreepalmer.org.